Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're diving into something a little bit different.
Okay.
Yeah, Die with Zero. It's a book by Bill Perkins.
I've heard of that one.
Yeah, have you read it?
I have, yeah.
Okay, cool. So, we're actually working from a detailed summary today, but
Well,
Die with Zero has a really, really interesting premise.
yeah?
It kind of flips the script on, like, all the traditional financial advice we get.
Yeah.
Save, 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 invest, build that nest egg.
Right. Right.
But Perkins is like, no, no, no. The goal is to actually use your money to live a fulfilling life
Yeah.
and ideally end up with zero in the bank when you die.
It's a pretty radical concept, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, at first I was kind of like, whoa, hold on, what is this?
Hmm.
But the more I kind of dug into it, the more it made me think.
Yeah, for sure.
Like one of the things that really struck me was his emphasis on time.
Oh, yeah.
He says time is actually our most precious resource,
Mm-hmm.
more than money,
Yeah.
because you can't make more time.
Right.
You can't earn more time.
Exactly. You're born with a certain amount, and that's it.
It's non-renewable,
And it's finite. Yeah.
you know? And he also makes this point that time becomes more valuable as we age.
That's interesting. I never really thought of it that way.
Me neither. But it makes sense when you think about it.
It does, yeah. The older you get, the less time you have left. So each moment becomes more precious.
Right. So it's not just about accumulating wealth. It's about how we're investing our time. Are we spending it on things that truly matter to us? Or are we putting off living for some unknown future?
Yeah, it really shifts your perspective, doesn't it? Like instead of just focusing on how much money you have in the bank, you start thinking about how you're actually spending your days.
Totally. So how do we actually put this into practice? Like, okay, dying with zero sounds a little extreme to me, I gotta be honest.
I think a lot of people feel that way.
Like, I get the concept, but is it really realistic?
Well, Perkins isn't saying you should just go out and spend all your money like there's no tomorrow. It's more about being mindful and intentional with your resource. Okay.
And one of the tools he introduces is this idea of time buckets, which I found really helpful.
Time buckets.
Yeah, so imagine dividing your life into these different buckets, like visual compartments almost,
Mm.
each one representing a stage of life that's best suited for certain experiences.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
So, for example, your 20s might be the time bucket for, like, adventurous travel exploration,
Yeah, pushing your boundaries.
Exactly. And then maybe your 30s are more focused on building your career.
Okay.
And then as you move into your 40s and 50s,
Family time maybe becomes more of a priority.
right, or pursuing a passion you put on hold earlier.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like each stage has its own unique kind of opportunities and challenges.
Exactly. And the key is to align your financial resources with these time buckets to maximize your enjoyment and fulfillment.
Okay, so instead of just saving for retirement in your 20s,
Maybe you invest in travel experiences or learning a new skill.
that enriches your life now.
Exactly. It's about making choices that align with your priorities at each stage. Okay, so it's not just about having a plan. It's about tailoring it to your own life.
Right. It's a personal journey of self-discovery. You have to figure out what truly matters to you.
Okay, this is making a lot more sense now.
Mhm.
So we've talked about time being the real currency and these time buckets. But how do you actually figure out what your time bucket should be? Like, what should I be focusing on right now?
It's a great question, and it's different for everyone,
Yeah.
But I think a good place to start is by reflecting on your values, your aspirations. What brings you joy at this point in your life? What are the experiences you wouldn't want to miss out on? What do you wish you'd done more of in the past? Less of. It's about being proactive and making choices that align with your evolving priorities.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's not about following someone else's blueprint, but figuring out what truly resonates with you.
Exactly.
And it makes me think about this whole idea of investing in your health early on, which Perkins also emphasizes.
Oh, absolutely. He calls health and wellness investments the gift that keeps on giving.
Oh, I like that.
The healthier you are, the more energy and vitality you will have to enjoy life's experiences as you age,
Yeah, and it's not just about physical health, right?
Right. It's about mental, emotional, even spiritual well-being. It's about taking care of yourself on all levels.
So maybe instead of viewing that gym membership or therapy session as an expense.
We should see it as a long-term investment in our ability to live a richer, more fulfilling life.
I like that. It's a shift in perspective for sure.
Yeah, it is.
So we've talked about time buckets, investing in our well-being, but what about actual spending? Where does that fit into the die with zero philosophy?
Yeah, that's a big one. And we'll dive into that more next time, but
Oh,
Perkins isn't saying you should just blow all your money on frivolous things.
okay, good to know.
It's about spending wisely and purposefully on experiences that bring you genuine fulfillment.
So things like travel hobbies, time with loved ones.
Exactly. He encourages us to view spending as a way to create lasting memories and enrich our lives.
Hmm.
Think about it this way. Would you rather have a hefty bank account at the end of your life or a treasure chest of unforgettable
It's
experiences?
funny because I immediately thought of material
Mhm.
possessions, but you're right. It's those experiences, those moments that truly stay with you.
And they contribute to our personal growth and development.
Yeah,
He argues that investing in experiences can be just as valuable as investing in financial assets, It's about expanding our horizons, learning new things, connecting with the world around us.
this is really making me rethink my own spending habits.
I think that's the power of this book. It challenges our assumptions about money and encourages us to be more intentional with our choices.
But of course, it does raise some questions about financial security.
It does, and that's something we'll definitely delve into further in the next part.
Okay, yeah. Because I think a lot of people are probably wondering, like, wait a minute, what about retirement? What about saving for the future?
Those are all valid concerns, and we'll explore how Perkins addresses those in the next part of our deep dive. So stay tuned.
Yeah, this is getting really interesting. I can't wait to hear more.
Me too. Okay, so picking up where we left off, I know a lot of you are probably thinking like, wait a minute, what about retirement?
Yeah, exactly. Like we're constantly told to save for the future,
Yeah.
but then die with zero comes along
Mm.
and it's like spend it all. It's a bit of a head scratcher.
Yeah, it definitely challenges the conventional wisdom. And Perkins acknowledges that the book might not offer like a super detailed roadmap for traditional retirement planning.
Okay.
And that's one of the criticisms it's gotten. Some people argue that it oversimplifies things, especially for folks who maybe have financial constraints or people who have dependents to support.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's not a one-size-fits-all approach for sure.
So is he saying we should just like throw caution to the wind and hope for the best?
Not quite. It's more about finding a balance, I think. Perkins really pushes us to question if we're sacrificing too much of our present for a future that we can't even guarantee. Like, are we so focused on saving that we're missing out on experiences and opportunities that could bring us joy and fulfillment right now?
Okay, so it's not about being reckless. It's about being more mindful and intentional.
Exactly.
And this kind of leads into another big part of the book, the whole idea of legacy, which Perkins really flips on its head.
Yeah, he definitely challenges the traditional notion of leaving a big inheritance.
Yeah, like that's what most people think of when they hear legacy,
Right.
passing down money to your kids or grandkids.
Right. But Perkins argues that it's more valuable to create lasting memories and shared experiences.
Okay, so instead of like a financial inheritance, it's more of an experiential inheritance.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's saying that those memories and shared moments become a part of our legacy. Like they have a ripple effect that extends far beyond just money.
Okay, I'm starting to see where he's coming from.
Imagine like funding a family trip or sharing a skill you're passionate about, or even making a positive impact on your community.
Yeah.
These are all actions that create a legacy that resonates on a much deeper level.
It's almost like shifting our focus from material wealth to a wealth of experiences.
Exactly. Instead of dollars and cents, it's about investing in relationships and creating a legacy that has real meaning and impact.
And you know there's actually research that backs this up.
Oh, yeah.
Studies have shown that experiences contribute more to long-term happiness than material possessions.
Makes sense. You might get a temporary thrill from buying a new gadget.
Right, but that fades pretty quickly.
Exactly. But experiences, those stick with you.
You can look back on them and relive those moments, those
They
emotions.
shape who we are. They foster a sense of purpose and connection.
Yeah, I'm really starting to see how this all ties back to the die with zero concept.
It's not about ending up penniless. It's about using your resources to create a life that's rich in experiences and relationships and personal growth.
It's like he's saying, don't just exist, Madeline.
Right. And Perkins is very clear that this isn't a one-size-fits-all approach,
Mm.
It's more of a framework for thinking about money and life differently. It's about prompting us to examine our values and priorities.
But I can also see how some people might be resistant to this idea.
Oh, for sure. It's a pretty radical departure from what we're usually told about money.
And I imagine some folks might think that Perkins doesn't really address the practical realities of financial planning.
Yeah, that's a valid criticism, especially for those who might have limited resources or unexpected expenses pop up. Life happens.
And I bet the whole dying with zero thing is kind of unsettling for some people.
It's definitely a conversation starter. I think in our culture, we're so conditioned to think about saving and accumulating wealth that the idea of intentionally ending up with zero can feel almost taboo.
Yeah, it goes against everything we've been taught.
But remember, Perkins isn't advocating for reckless spending or irresponsibility. It's more about encouraging a mindful and intentional approach to living, you
Yeah,
know, finding that sweet spot between enjoying the present and planning for the future.
it's like he's saying don't let the fear of the future rob you of the joy you can experience today.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that life is a finite resource and making conscious choices about how we spend our time and money.
So it's not just about how much money we have, it's about how we live our lives.
Right. It's
Yeah.
about creating a life that feels truly fulfilling and aligned with our values.
Okay, so we've talked about time being the ultimate currency and these time buckets and investing in experiences and Perkins's unique take on legacy. It's a lot to digest.
It is.
But how does all of this actually translate into action? Like, what can our listeners do to start applying these ideas to their own lives?
That's the million-dollar question, and one we'll definitely tackle in the final part of our deep dive.
Okay, great. Because I'm ready to start putting some of this into practice.
Me too.
Okay, so we've covered a ton of ground with Die with Zero, but how do we actually put this into practice?
Yeah,
Like, it's one thing to understand the concepts, but it's another to actually apply them, you know?
absolutely. It's all about taking action, turning those ideas into tangible changes in your life.
Right. So where do we even begin?
Well, a good starting point is revisiting those time buckets.
Right.
Remember those?
Oh, yeah. The different life stages and aligning your finances.
Exactly. Perkins emphasizes that tailoring your financial approach to those specific stages is key to maximizing your joy and fulfillment.
So instead of just having like a generic financial plan,
Yeah.
it's more about creating one that's personalized to your own journey.
Precisely. What brings you joy and fulfillment in your 20s might be totally different from what you crave in your 50s. Being aware of that allows for more flexibility and intentionality with your spending.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's say I've figured out my time buckets and I have a general idea of the experiences that matter most to me right now. What's next?
Time to take action. Instead of just dreaming about that trip you've always wanted to take, start planning it. Instead of putting off learning that new skill, sign up for that class.
So it's about turning those aspirations into concrete plans.
Exactly. And remember Perkins's emphasis on experiences. By investing in experiences that resonate with where you are in life, you're creating memories and moments that will enrich you long after the experience itself is over.
It's like building a treasure chest of memories, not just a bank account.
I love that analogy. And those memories become part of your personal legacy,
Hmm.
a legacy of joy, adventure, and connection.
It's like Perkins is giving us permission to actually enjoy our lives, to invest in our happiness and fulfillment.
Absolutely. And just to be clear, he's not advocating for throwing all responsibility out the window.
Right, of course not.
It's about finding a balance, a way to live fully in the present while still planning for the future.
This whole deep dive has really shifted my perspective. I realize I've been so focused on hitting certain financial milestones, but I haven't really thought about what truly brings me joy.
It's easy to fall into that trap, especially in a society that often equates success with wealth.
It's true. But Perkins challenges us to redefine success.
To include experiences, relationships, personal growth.
So as we wrap up, what's the one key takeaway you'd want our listeners to remember?
I think it boils down to this. If you knew you had a limited amount of time left, how would you spend your remaining days? Would you cling to your savings, or would you use them to create experiences and memories that would last a lifetime?
That's such a powerful question. And I think the answer is pretty obvious. Life's too short to put off happiness.
Exactly. Die with Zero might not be a perfect financial guide, but it's a powerful reminder that time is our most precious resource, and we have the power to choose how we spend it.
So to our listeners out there, I encourage you to embrace the spirit of Die with Zero. Reflect on your values, identify your time buckets, and start investing in experiences that bring you joy and create a lasting legacy.
Don't wait for someday to start living your best life. Start today.
And if you're intrigued by what you've heard today, I highly recommend checking out Die with Zero for yourself. It might just change your perspective on money and life.
Absolutely. Until next time, happy exploring.